Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Show with your host, Jeff Lopes.
We are live on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. I'm super stoked and excited to have on Edmund Lowman. Edmund is we're right in Thailand right now, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
This is beautiful. Let's I always start off by a podcast is getting to know
beautiful Thailand. You see, is this everything you imagined? So, so tropical, right?
If you Google it, you'll see the beautiful beaches in the tropic life and all that. Let's start off by that. Let's start off by how long you've been in Thailand and what kind of brought you there.
I've been in Thailand 9 or 10 years now, and I came here because I had a business in China that I sold. When I sold that business, I decided to travel around Asia for the foreseeable future, or not just around Asia, to go surfing. That was my plan. I just wanted to surf, and came to Thailand to visit some friends. One thing led to another, and here I am 9-10 years later, still here. Haven't left yet. Still got my bags packed.
I love it. How long have you been married now for?
Married 7 years, 6 years, 7 years.
So Don't
tell my wife I didn't know the answer to that. But but in all fairness, it's not so odd that I don't know, because originally when we got married, it was like I just I'd been here for like 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, 3 years, and my wife and I had met. I think we kind of knew pretty quickly that we would get married, but basically we're like, we want to buy a house and let's do this as an investment together. Like, we'll do this as like a property rental business, similar to what you and I were talking about before. So in order to do that in Thailand and get leverage, like get bank leverage, you need to either be a Thai citizen or be married. And so we're like, well, we'll just get married and we'll make a partnership on this house, and then, we'll go from there. And it wasn't until like a year and a half or 2 years later that I actually proposed to her and we actually got married. I mean, we were already married, but we like had a ceremony and all this stuff.
That's interesting.
Actually,
so you're essentially business partners before.
Actually, we actually got married like last week. Like the real
Seriously?
ceremony was like the first one. Yeah.
Congratulations.
She's been asking me for like years, but we haven't even really. That was like the Thai ceremony. I think sometime later next year we'll do like a Western style.
Where are you originally from?
Wedding.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida. Okay. And so when did your traveling days start? At what age did you actually start? Because obviously you have a lot of international travel. When did that all start? That's an interesting part of you.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really travel for fun like most people do. I had another business in the States. Actually, a guy I had on my podcast, or I don't know what I do, but I have a thing where I talk to people, my YouTube. I was working with him, left the business. And when I left the business, I decided I was going to go to Europe for like a month to travel. That turned into me staying in Germany for like 2 years.
How old were you then, roughly?
26.
Okay.
Stayed there for a couple of years, ended up starting a business there, an online business, sold that business and was planning on going back to America. And a friend of mine in China had a fashion business. Was like, hey, like his dad was the founder of this massive fashion company. They had this branch of it that wasn't doing well. He's like, hey, we're either going to close it or we're going to do something with it. Do you want to come like try to do it with me for a few months? And I was like, yeah, fuck it. So I went to China, ended up staying in China for a few years. We grew that business to a large business. I worked with like massive companies like Zara, H&M, Mishmash, like every big fashion company out there we worked with. Exited the company and then was planning again to go back to America. Like, I'll travel around Thailand for a bit, and then here I am.
That is
so I have done a ton of international travel, like in between them, like vacationing and like business wise. But I was never like a true like backpacker or anything where I like traveled the world. I didn't really do that. And also before that, I was in a band. Yeah,
we'll get into that. We'll get into that after.
Yeah. And through that, I toured a lot around the world. But again, I would consider that work. I didn't really ever travel until my 30s, like for fun.
So, okay, you brought that up. I wanted to bring that up later on. So the band, let's dive into that. What was the name of the band, and how long were you guys together, and all that?
The band is still together. The band is called Red
okay.
Jumpsuit. Yeah, Red Jumpsuit
Okay.
Apparatus. I was in the band for a brief amount of time, but I was in there during the good amount of time when things are going great. I was actually, even before that, to take it back a step, I was in music at that time. So I'd had a deal with, before that, I had a production deal with a big producer, a guy who did like NSYNC and Mandy Moore and all this stuff. I wasn't in the boy band, but he decided he wanted to produce bands. And we got a deal with RCA Records. And then after that, I was in a band that had a deal with Sony and Columbia Records. And then I had pretty much given up and was like, I'm done with music. And then the red jumpsuit thing happened. And it was quite funny because I'd like set this deadline in my head of like at 25, if it doesn't happen by 25, I'm done. So I guess actually then you asked about when I left the States, it was probably, I guess, 25. And then like 27, 28 is when I had left the band, did my company for a bit, and then went to Germany. I'm horrible with timelines. But yeah, so then Red Jumpsuit was signed to Virgin. Was able to experience, with the band before as well. I was in a band before that had a bit of a success. Was able to experience a bit of the success with Red Jumpsuit. Got to see the whole deal, meet famous people, get drunk,
So that timeline,
whole song and dance.
So that timeline was what, a year, 2 years, pretty much.
The music was like 20. Jeez. I mean, music as a whole, like, I guess,
but that band, when you guys signed with Virgin,
like a year and a half.
Year and a half. What?
Maybe, yeah, a year and a half.
What part of the band were you doing in the band? Were you guitarist? Were you lead singer? What were you doing?
Yeah, I started off playing bass and then moved to guitar.
Very, very cool. So you had some good experience. Do you still grab on the guitar and still jam a bit, or are you past that right now?
No, I do. I mean, actually, just like last year, I think I'm actually going to put it out soon because I did it as like a fun thing, but then I realized it's like pretty cool. Yeah. So like what a lot of people don't realize is Jacksonville, Florida, especially when I was there in like the early 2000s, was like this breeding ground of like massively successful bands. So in the time right when I graduated high school till 2006, you have Limp Bizkit, you have Puddle of Mud, you have Yellow Card, you have Red Jumpsuit. You had the other band I was in called Start Trouble, which wasn't as big as these bands, but still quite big, major label band with a single out. You had Shinedown. You had
these are all coming out of Jacksonville, Florida, huh?
Everyone from Jacksonville, Florida.
That's crazy.
And not only all from Jacksonville, Florida, all friends. We all hung out together. We all went to high school together. Everyone knew everyone. So a band named Cold. I don't know if you heard Cold, but Cold was a pretty big band. And anyway, so we're all friends. About a year and a half ago, I went home for Christmas and I'd written a bunch of songs, and I was like, I'm going to go record a few songs. And then as I was like kind of demoing them, I was like, oh, how cool would it be if I just got like everyone, all my friends from these big bands to play on my demo. So that's what I did. So I got my buddy from Puddle of Mud to play guitar. I got my ex bandmate from Red Jumpsuit, Thomas, to play guitar on it. I got LP from Yellow Card to play drums on it. I got Pete from Yellow Card to play bass on it. And we just did like this like 3-4 song, I can't remember if it's 3 songs or 4 songs, 3-song EP of like this like kind of like Jacksonville super group. Came out really cool. It's really good actually. But I never did anything with it.
I was gonna say, so you haven't released it? You still have it?
It's lived on my iPhone for the last 2 years, and then I was like, yeah, I should put it out.
That's awesome. It's funny that you're saying that because I'm actually currently I had him on as a guest. His name's Zach Cohen. He's from Florida as well. I think close to the Jacksonville, Florida area. He has a band called Red Rum Society. And he just released, he's had quite a few songs out, but he just released another single. He's coming out in 4 weeks with an album, and I was actually helping him, and it actually got to number 1 on the Spotify top charts. And it's been a number 1 for the last couple of weeks. So nice. And it's from Florida, and it's from Florida as well. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah, great guy.
Florida
great guy.
Has, if you just look historically, Jacksonville is really cool.
Yeah,
Leonard Skinner, Molly Hatchet, Tom Petty right down the street. And an insane amount of great music has come out of Jacksonville. But Florida too. I mean, you got a huge amount of music that's come out of Florida. It's an interesting state for music.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's dive back into the fashion industry. So before you got into that, did you have any experience in the fashion industry, or was that just all raw? Let's learn it and let's do it and explode. Because getting to Zara's and selling out, those are pretty massive brands. So how established was the company when you actually moved into the company with your friend?
Not very established at all.
At all, huh? So you guys took it off from ground zero. Okay, that's awesome. So how long? And with that company, that was an exit strategy. You guys actually sold. You sold out on that company. Is your friend still part of it, or he's out of it as well?
Everyone's out of it. The whole company was exited. As far as, well, I'm sorry. I'll let you continue. You ask
No,
continue.
So So continue. So with the fashion industry, how was your experience with the fashion industry? It's a very tough industry. The fashion industry is so competitive. It's so cutthroat. And you did obviously well with it. How was your experience? Like, what I always ask a little question, like, what recommendations for somebody trying to get into the fashion industry? What recommendations would you have for them? Because obviously you were successful in that aspect.
Almost everything that I've ever done in my life, I would never recommend anyone to do. Being in a band is crazy hard to be successful with. Actually, again, on my YouTube the other week, I had this guy, Brett Young, on. Brett Young actually used to work for me at my company before he became successful. And he worked with me because it was right after Red Jumpsuit and he wanted to write songs with me. And if you listen to that interview, one of the things he talks about the entire time is like, if anyone had told me how hard it was and what it was going to take to get to where I am, I probably would have stopped. He's like, because I didn't realize it. And I would say that's with almost every business I've started. They're not industries that I would say are, I mean, any business, no business is fucking easy. Anyone who tells you business is easy and you're going to be a millionaire is fucking lying to you.
No, 100%.
They're internet gurus that are trying to get your money. Those are the people that tell you it's easy.
100%.
People like you and I who've actually done it will never be like, oh yeah, it's easy, man. Just go do it. That's not how it is.
No, the countless hours and the stress and anxiety and just the ups and downs to be successful is people don't see that. They always see the light at the end of the rainbow, right? And they see all the glimmer and stuff like that. And I think that has a lot to do with the last 10 years of social media, right? So something like Instagram, people see the perfect side of everyone. They don't see
everyone sees the fucking highlight reel.
That's exactly. That's what it is, right? So you don't see the grind and how many hours and I'll give you an example. Like since March 18th, pandemic started here. My main company, Camore, where we sell directly wholesale to gyms all closed. I had to let 4 staff in this office go, and all of a sudden, it's been March 18th till today. I haven't had a day off, and I'm a family guy. I'm home every single night from 3 to 7 is family time. I don't give a shit about nothing else. But I'm working, which I haven't done in years, from 7 till 10 o'clock. I'm up at 4:30 every day. So it's like the grind is there, and people don't see that, right? They just see the pretty picture. So yeah, 100%. Nothing in life that's worth it comes easy, right? So you got to put the time into it. So
fashion, like well, I don't know if you want to answer, but with fashion, to answer your first question, little to no experience, and then what recommendation would be don't do it. and the reason why is because I think why we were successful. I mean, of course, I think we had a good idea, but I also think that we were kind of in the right place at the right time because it was like 2010-ish area, like right just before 2009 area, maybe 2008. And at that time, China, though everyone wanted to do business in China, it still wasn't really online yet. It wasn't easy yet to do business there. Alibaba was not really a thing yet. It was kind of happening, but it wasn't anywhere near where it is today. And so companies like ours who were sourcing / doing like design and production management were still like heavily in demand. And so I think it was a combination of right place, right time, right people. And so it worked. I mean, like anything, right? Like same with the band. If like a Red Jumpsuit, if you took one member out of that equation, probably it wouldn't have worked. Or if you you have the right people, the right time. It's like
everything
hard
happens
work,
for a reason.
Opportunity, and then like chance. And it's like if you have all of those together at the same time with the right people, then it can happen. But without one of those ingredients, it doesn't happen. I guess it's like about like same with business or with bands or with fashion. It's like, or even a great analogy would be baseball. If you take enough at bats, eventually you're going to hit a home run. So I think that's what it is. Like, I'm not that much better or smarter than anyone. I just fucking sit there and swing all day. And eventually every now and then I get fucking lucky and hit a ball.
I love your honesty, man, because you're not sugarcoating nothing, which I love it. There's so many layers of you, and you're a father. How old's your daughter?
She's about to be 3.
So that's your joy of your life, of course.
Amazing.
Yeah,
one of my friends said to me before I had my business partner said to me before I had my daughter, he said, you've never known true love until you've had a daughter. And yeah, man, shit, he was right.
Yeah, 100%. My daughter is obviously my daughter's 14 now. And time, enjoy it. I mean, time flies. My daughter just started high school, and it's obviously a different world for high school for her, poor thing, because all the pandemic and everything is a shit show here still. But it's you just.
It seems like 3 years went like that. Like I'm like,
oh, it feels like 14 years. I look at. Yeah. I just did a post the other day, and I'm trying to, I have tons of purposes I try to focus on, but one of them is building the gap between entrepreneurs and fatherhood. And I love that. And it's something that I've kind of mastered, where I could honestly look at you and tell you, I've never missed one event for my kids, whether it's a recital, whether it's a baseball game. Their schedule is first on my calendar before anything else. And I've always lived like that. And I'm looking at the last like 14 years, and one thing we do is we take photos. Everywhere we go, we always take photos and we develop them. A lot of people don't develop photos anymore, so we have albums and albums and albums and photos. And the other day, I'm going upstairs, and my kids are sitting on the floor in their bedrooms and going through albums of 5-6 years ago, and it's so awesome seeing these memories. So if any advice, and I don't know if you do that now, lots of photos, lots of video, and develop them, because it's so amazing to actually sit down as a family in 5 years and go through photos of 5-6 years ago, and when your daughter was 3. It's such a special thing to share, right?
I don't know if anyone's told you, but they've got these crazy inventions now called smartphones. You don't have to develop stuff anymore. You can just literally see it the second. No.
I hate that. Yeah. That's a different world. Actually, you lose phones, you lose pictures. Shit happens. It's nice to have a printed photo still.
I agree. Actually, I can't say that I agree, because I hadn't ever thought about it until you just said it. And as you were saying it, I was like, yeah, right on. Like, if you think about it, like, I take photos all the time in my phone, but how often do I look at those? Literally never.
Yeah.
Not that I'm worried about losing them. Like, I back them up to the cloud, but I never look at them. And the reason why, it's the same as like a book, right? It's like having it in your hand and it's physical and you can touch it, and then you look at it, because it has more like maybe like
it's that emotional
feeling, or like tangible
1,000%. Like, I was at my dad's house the other day, and he pulled out an album of when he was in the army, and my kids are both sitting there just going through it. It's that visual. I can't even explain it. It's a lot more than looking at it on a computer. It's just that it engages all senses, right? You're touching 100%, it,
you're seeing 100%. It, you're smelling it, you're smelling that smell of old photos. It's like there's something about that. So yeah, I agree. I dig that.
I love that. I love it.
I'm taking it away. I'm gonna make it happen now.
There you go. So fitness is a huge part of you as well. Let's get into a little bit about that. Ultra marathons, which is absolutely fucking crazy. How many have you done?
I've done 2 ultras.
How long does it take you to train for one of those? Those are the 100. Is it 100? Is it 100 miles or 100K?
The longest one I've done to date is 100K.
100K, okay, which is insane. How long did you train for that? Because the mental aspect is a huge component of completing one of those. Yeah,
so the story behind the whole ultra marathon thing is kind of I think I have to tell you the story, because the story makes it all like
100%.
kind of more
Let's go.
Interesting. And I'll try to do the shortest version of the story. Yeah. Basically around 35-ish. It was funny, as I got into my 30s, I stopped like not drinking as much, not wanting to go out and be crazy, just like started slowing down. And I started doing these like wouldn't drink for a month, would drink for a month, wouldn't drink for 6 months, would drink for 6 months. Like these kind of like just testing out the waters of what not drinking versus drinking felt like. during one of these, I'm going to drink episodes. Let's call it that. I went hard, man, like for like 2 weeks, like, and I kid you not, like 2 weeks. This is pre-daughter, keep in mind. So I'm not a total shit show of a father. I probably am, but but not as much so anymore. And yeah, man, I ended up in the hospital with what they call arterial fibrillation. And what arterial fibrillation is that your heart basically stops beating correctly. It starts going in. It's like having a muscle spasm in your heart. And what had happened was I was training in that time. I was running. I was training hard. I was going to a sauna every morning. And then I was going out and I was drinking at night. And I did this for 2 weeks straight. And I had basically depleted the electrolytes and the magnesium in my body to such a insane level that my, your heart is run off of an electric pulse that is regulated by electrolytes.
Yeah.
And so I'm 35 years old. I go to the hospital in the middle of the night. My heart beats at like 185 BPM. I don't know why. The whole story to that's even dramatic, but the shortest version of it is, and I go to the hospital and they keep trying to slow me down. Eventually they get my heart to convert back to what they call sinus rhythm. They were actually going to do surgery on me because it took almost 12 hours to convert. Usually if you haven't converted within 8 hours, they do they shock you first, like defibrillate you. And then after that, if it hasn't worked, then they cut you open and they start basically like burning parts of your heart to try to get to stop. And a very romantic story. My wife came, sat down in bed with me, in like 10 minutes of her being there, my heart converted back to normal. So to say love is a very strong, like fucking magical power, it literally saved my life, or at least helped me not have surgery. So anyways, the reason why I tell you all this is prior to that, I was kind of getting back into health, but I wasn't massively into it. Like when I was younger, I'd run a lot. Through my 30s, I ran and I was always active and fit and I was always in good shape. But I guess for me, like I'm an extreme guy. So in shape is like doing an Ironman, and anything less than that to me, I'm a weirdo. Anything less than that to me is like not in shape for some reason. Even though like normal people probably train like 3 days a week. Me, if it's like not 14 hours a week, I feel like I'm being lazy.
Okay.
And so, so that happened. And I was like, well, and this is how, for lack of a better word, unintelligent that I am. I was like, well, my heart just went for 185 BPM for 12 hours. And like, I was like watching this documentary on ultramarathoners. I was like, well, ultramarathon can't be more than like 12 hours, right? Like it's the same thing, right? I laid in a hospital bed for 12 hours at 185. Why can't I run for 12 hours at 185? And somehow in my head, that's how I connected the two. And so, this horrible, or like, in some way horrible, but for me, like one of the best things that ever happened in my life. I got out of the hospital, had like this total like epiphany, like I want to change my life. I don't ever want to like be like, I was never like a alcoholic or a drug addict or anything like this, but being in a band, you definitely experiment with those things. Yeah. And I don't think it was it wasn't to the point where it was dangerous in the fact that I was like habitually going out and doing it. I just made a really bad fucking decision. But making that really bad decision made me realize like, hey, I want to change my life completely. Meaning like, I want to get back in shape. I want to focus more on my business. At that point I'd already made a lot of money. I was just kind of fucking off all the time. Yeah. And I was like, I'm only 35. I got so much more to live for. And I always remember feeling like I was getting old, and I was like, fuck this, you're 35, like get back in shape. And so the first thing I decided was like, I'm going to run an ultra marathon. And so decided to run this ultra. It was an awesome experience. I trained, I think like 6 months for the first one. Okay. And then the second one I did was probably like 3 or 4 months after that. And I didn't really train that much for that one. And that was the longest one, the 100K one. And then I took like a year like off, but not like off. Like I just wasn't training as hard. Yeah. And then like last I think November, when I went to the States, one of my buddies has done Ironmans. I was like, I'm going to train for an Ironman. And so actually for the last like 8 months I was training, but then 2 in a row got canceled. And so then I was like, it's pretty like, for anyone who's never trained for an Ironman, it's not like hey, I'm going to go out and do an Ironman. Like it's a commitment. Financially. 100%. Yeah. Financially, it's a commitment because it's not cheap to do. And time-wise, it's a commitment. So, I mean, I was training on the big weeks up to, 20 hours a week. And on the small weeks, like 12 hours a week, and 12 hours a week might not sound like a lot, but just think about that. 12 hours a week.
100% it is.
Yeah.
It's a part-time, it's a part-time job. It's a part-time job almost, right?
Yeah. It's like you're training every day, at least an hour is what it means. And then Saturday or Sunday, you're doing like a big, like 6 or 7 hour bike ride or like a 3 or 4 hour run.
Yeah.
And so anyways, like the last one got canceled back in August. So I kind of like, just like at that point, after the second one was canceled, I was just kind of like mentally fried and was like, I can't train anymore right now. And so I took pretty much all of last month off. Yeah. And then I just started training again yesterday. So I'm going to get back in shape again. And I'm signing up for another Ironman now because it looks like they're going to do the next one here in Thailand. So now I'm getting back in shape for the next Ironman.
So long-term goals, do you want to, what's the name of the actual, is it the one in Hawaii every year? Is it the
yeah, that's the World Championship.
The World Championship. Is that a long-term goal for you now? Get the qualify for that?
Yeah, I would be lying if I said no, but there's another side of me that was like, I just want to go out and do it and like have fun. And I think that's one thing as I've gotten a little bit older is like, you don't have to do everything to go out and try to win. Though it is fun, and that is my mentality. Is like I want to go out and I want to win. I think it's the
entrepreneurial mentality too, right? Once you start something, you just want to you want to succeed on it, 100%. Doesn't matter. It's just engraved in your fabric, right? It just is that competitive edge, which is it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a pretty amazing thing. It's a pretty special thing to have. Let's go back to the 100K one. When you're doing it, and this is me as an outsider, and I don't know much about it, how does it work? You're running a certain path, you walk a certain path. You're not running for 100K. So how long did it take you to finish it? And do you have breaks in between to eat? Do you eat and walk? Like, how does that all even work?
Yeah. So you don't like, there's a few things. You don't ever stop. Like stop. Like when you're
no. So that's what yeah. So you're moving always.
Yeah. You don't sit down, or I mean, like maybe for like 3 minutes or 5 minutes to like change shoes and switch clothes. Like I changed socks a few times and changed shorts, I think once or twice. But you don't ever like sit down. Let me say it differently. You don't ever go to sleep or take any break that's over like maybe 5 to 10 minutes max.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Max. Because at some point, if you sit down, your legs will just start to seize up. So how it goes, usually there's like rest stations along the way, and those kind of dictate your stops. Yeah. And usually those are anywhere from like 10 kilometers to 15 kilometers apart. Okay. With the one we did it to basically running from one island to another, or from one province down to another island. And so ours were like every 10 kilometers. So every 10 kilometers we would stop for a second, like take a gel, and then, start running. And I would say like the first probably like 50 or 60 kilometers, those stops were like 1 minute to like 3 minutes of like stop, water, like refill your water bottles, put in some new gels, like whatever you used in the last 10K, and trying to keep your load as light as possible, because it doesn't seem like much, but like when you're running for 100K, like even those little water belts start to feel like you're carrying carrying a lead weight. And then as you progress, it gets harder, because what gets really tough, or at least for me, I don't know for other people, what got tough for me was running at night. And also the same thing, it's interesting. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro last year.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Like, and it was the same thing that I found difficult about climbing Kilimanjaro, which like at night, you no longer can see the goal. You can no longer see the finish. Your whole world gets reduced down to this like 12-inch bubble of your headlamp. And all you're doing is just staring at your feet or whatever you can see, like, immediately in front of you. And I think that's the part where it gets like really mentally, like you have to be mentally fucking tough, or you have to like, I mean, you have to be mentally tough and stupid to do either, but you have to be like tough, or just get like really zenned out of just like looking at your feet and just like, just getting into the zone of just like, okay, just like watching my feet and just like almost getting into a trance of like, that's all you're doing. Because otherwise, I mean, it's like, you're in the middle of nowhere in the middle of night running. Like, there's nothing that enjoyable about the.
You had how many individuals were with you? You had one other partner running with you, or you had more?
Just
one,
yep,
just you and other.
Me me, one guy, and this, and
How long did it take you to finish the 100K?
I need to go back and look, but I want to say it was like 12 hours something.
Yeah, that's pretty.
So
crazy.
we're running like maybe like I can't remember. I think it was like a 11 or 12 minute miles the whole way.
How
and that's including that's including the stops. So we're probably like if you took out the stops, we were probably running like, I would guess, around 9-minute miles, 10-minute miles the whole way.
So it's pretty steady. Just run down the next day when you're done that mentally, physically, the emotional rush is down. How draining are you? How drained are you for a couple of days? Or are you still running on that high?
Opposite. Well, there's like two things. I would say one, I think in the ultra is like the hardest thing is like, because at some point everyone hits their wall. You never know 100%. When it's going to be, but some people hit it early, some people hit it late. So like for me, when I did that first long one, I think like 40K in, maybe even less than that, dude, like 30K in. I don't know why. I just like hit this mental block. I was like, fuck this. What am I doing? This is the dumbest thing ever. And I'm sorry. I don't know if this is a family show.
No, we're good. We're good.
I apologize.
We're
people.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm saying bad words. That's who I am though. Yeah, I think for me, it happened at like 30K in, and it was really challenging. I was just mentally just couldn't get over it. But then what was good about it was then like my buddy, his like 70K, and like at 70K for some reason, I felt great and was like, "We're gonna do it, man. We barely, you only got to run a marathon still." And I think when we finished the next morning, I think it was around like 9 a.m. when we finished the next morning.
Yeah.
And I think that part, for me personally, like around 5:30, 6 a.m. when the sun started coming back up, I was like full of energy. I was like, yes, like light. I don't know. That felt really good to me. And when we actually finished, I felt really good. I think if I remember, we went to this resort we were staying at right afterwards.
Yeah.
I went down to the pool and like ate like a hamburger and a thing of fries and drank a beer with my buddy. And then I passed out for like 5 hours and then woke up, and it felt like, the best I could equate it to was like almost like having a hangover. Is like, but yeah, that's the only thing I could think to equate it to. Like you just felt exhausted and tired, and you had a bit of a headache. You're just so dehydrated.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's almost like you have a cold coming on? Your body's trying to fight something almost.
Yeah, maybe a bit. But
I'll give you an example why I said, because we have something called the CN Tower here, which is it's one of the highest building. I don't know if it's the second or third highest in the world, and I think it's just under 1,900 flights of stairs. And I've done it 3 times for the World Wildlife Foundation, running it. And when you finish it, I don't know if it's the oxygen levels, it's you're in a tight corridor running upstairs. When you get to the top, for a good 5-6 hours, your body just drains. And the next day, I almost feel like I have a jet lag, like almost like your body's trying to break down for a cold.
Yeah.
And so it's very similar to that, which is obviously a little not as crazy as yours, but that's the only thing I can plan it to.
But it's, I mean, there's physiology behind that, which is that your body, when you're doing that, your adrenal glands are totally deplenished.
Yeah.
Your cortisol levels are through the roof.
Yeah.
So basically you've done nothing but stress your body out. You've jacked up your cortisol, and your body's now like trying to get things back in fucking balance. And the feeling of that is a cold, or actually getting a cold. So yeah, that would be a normal feeling to have. But the next morning I actually felt good. I went out and ran the next morning, which I know it sounds insane, but I woke up the next morning and ran 5K. And I remember, like, I went to breakfast and my buddy's like, "Oh, where were you?" I was like, "I went out running." And he's like, "Are you out of your mind?" I was like, "Dude," I felt really good. My legs felt like fresh. I didn't feel bad.
Which is awesome. So
I mean, I guess I'm not saying that that's always that way. I think I learned a lot between my first one and my second one. My first ultra was a total, like, just, for lack of a better word, shit show. Like I didn't know how to like fuel myself properly. I didn't know how to pace. Just like, it was just a train wreck. The fact that I finished it is a miracle. Whereas the second one, I read up a lot more. I understood what I was doing, and so it felt like it actually.
There was a science. There's a science behind the second one.
Yeah. The first one I ran like 60K, and it was way harder than my 100K.
Yeah.
And now that I've done that 100K, I feel like I could probably do 100 miles, and it wouldn't be that bad.
Is that a hint of something planned for the future? How old are you right now?
Yeah. I'll probably do it for sure. I'm 39.
39. Okay. So I'm 43. So I'm a couple of years older than you. Let's talk about your mountain climb. When did you accomplish that? That's a big accomplishment too.
That was in getting horrible with dates. When did we do that? Maybe like April of 2019 or 2018.
So just recently. Just recently, a few years ago.
Like a year ago, year and a half ago, year ago. It was a year ago.
How did you prepare for that training wise? Because obviously it's a little different because the altitude, the oxygen levels, all that stuff. It's a little different to train for that.
Yeah, it was a year ago. I trained like I was training for an ultra. Plus, I got a personal trainer and did like a lot of like leg based training of like yeah. But to be honest, like actually, Kilimanjaro I think isn't that hard if you do it the right way, which is not what we did. But if you do it the right way, had we listened to the people we had hired to guide us, it probably would have been very easy. But me and my buddy were like trying to be heroes and get it up quickly, which we did. I mean, we went up and I can't remember if it was up in day 3.5 or day 4, and it's supposed to be an 8-day journey. We were back off the mountain at the end of at the beginning of day 5. Had already gone up and gone back down.
They always say, let me jump in there quickly. They always say when you're coming down, that's obviously the most risk aspect of it when you're coming down. And they always say that with a lot of the climbs, when people coming down, that's when any deaths or anything happens is usually when you're coming down. Cause I don't know if you're exhausted. I don't know if it's just mentally, I don't know how it works. Did you find it hard coming down, or is it the going up aspect?
I would say for me, it was definitely the going up aspect. And again, like middle of the night, Kilimanjaro, like it's just tough. I mean, there's a number of things I would say. I would like to go do it again, to be honest. Because I feel like I did it the wrong way. And I feel like it could have been way more enjoyable than it was. So I think a few things that made it hard on me personally was generally I eat plant-based or vegan. Yeah. I'm not like a hardcore like preacher on it. It's just how my body feels better. And actually quite to the contrary, I love a good steak. It's just my body feels better when I don't eat meat. It just is what it is. So before that, like I was like really hardcore, like didn't have a drop of alcohol for 6 months, didn't have a single piece of meat for 6 months, was like hardcore training, like probably the best shape I've ever been in my life. And then we go on this hike, and all of a sudden we get up there and we're like, all the food that you're eating as you're hiking up is like meat, milk, cheese, bread, like all this stuff I haven't been eating. So, and then to compound this, which even worse, the day before we hiked, I dislocated my shoulder. So the day before we go on the hike, my buddy's flying into Kilimanjaro the next morning, and then we're supposed to leave in the afternoon to go hike. And I went on like a waterfall hike, and I dislocated my shoulder. And I dislocated my shoulder in the middle of Africa, in the middle of nowhere. So I was in the jungle, had to hike an hour. Have you ever dislocated a shoulder?
No, but I know quite a few people that have.
I
not the funnest experience you could have. It's very painful.
Like, it's like more painful than breaking a bone. Like I broken bones, it was worse than that. Like because of all the nerves around your shoulder, it's like literally one of the most painful things that ever happened to me. So dislocated my shoulder in the middle of the jungle out this waterfall. I had to hike like an hour and a half back to the car with a dislocated shoulder, then get into a car, drive down like these rocky mountain road for 2 hours to a hospital, get to the first hospital. They can't do anything for me there. Have to send me to another hospital. So by the time I finally get in front of a doctor that's saying he can help me, it's been like 7-8 hours, and I'm like in shock. I'm like, give me anything, please. Just like, I mean, like, dude, like I've never been in shock in my life. I was in shock. And that part was really scary because I'd never been in shock before. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, he pops my shoulder back in. He gives me ketamine. I'm like out of my fucking mind for like 10 minutes. Next thing you know, I'm like kind of coming back, and I'm in a car and my shoulder's in a sling. And then my buddy who I was hiking with was a doctor. And so my buddy shows up the next morning. I've dislocated my shoulder, and he's like, look, he's like, you know, like you're not like the worst that's going to happen is you're going to re-dislocate your shoulder. And, you've trained all this time to come here. And he's like, you've got pain meds, you got me. He's like, let's just do it. So that also was hard because I was hiking with one arm the whole time.
Yeah.
Carrying a backpack. So that was a bit of a shit show. And then, so that carrying the backpack, I'm on pain meds, and then I'm eating meat and cheese and all this stuff. So it's just like everything that you could have done to make it not enjoyable. And then on top of that, me and my buddy were like, oh, let's go fast. We can do it fast.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I would say is like, I wish I would like to go back and do it slowly and like enjoy the experience. It was like my first ultra marathon, same exact experience basically. It sucked and I wasn't really.
So you got to the top in 3 days, give or take.
3 or 4, I can't remember. Yeah.
3 or 4 days.
Much.
You hired, obviously, you hired a guide. Is it a team guide or just one person? How does that work?
No, you have to take a team because they carry like your tents, your food, like. I guess you don't have to. You could do it solo. You could be gangster. We were not. We did it.
No, that's pretty crazy to do that to gangster.
I wouldn't say we were like. We definitely weren't posh. That's not what we did. But I think we had like 5 or 6 guys with us. And they carried up like cooking supplies, water.
It's not. So it's not. Do you mind me asking how much money you invested into this experience?
Yeah,
it's not. It can't be cheap. No.
No. I want to say it was like $3,000, $5,000, something like that. It's not cheap.
No, it's not. It's a world of experience, right? It's something you're gonna take with you the rest of your life.
Yeah, but you can do it cheaper. I think you can do it somewhere between like $800 to $1,500 if you go like in a group. Me and my buddy went private. We want to go just he and I.
Yeah, they experienced it that way. And how long did it take you to come down? Were you the same thing? Were you sleeping like?
We came down. We came all the way from the top of the mountain, all the way off the mountain in one day, less than a day, we actually what happened. So again, like probably because of my life sounds so dramatic. It's really not. You just happen to be asking about the dramatic points of my life. It's really not. My life is pretty normal, but all these things I do, sometimes I get into trouble. So yeah, I got I believe they call it, I don't know if I got hypoxia, but I basically started getting altitude sickness. So I got up to the top, and like as we got like closer to the top, maybe like an hour from the top, I was like really dragging, and I kept throwing up and throwing up and throwing up and throwing up, like couldn't go more than like 10 feet without throwing up. And so finally my buddy who was with me, the doctor, he's like, you probably got altitude sickness. And I was like, I'm not fucking stopping. Like I'm summiting. I don't give a fuck what you say. I'm summiting. And he's like, all right. Cause I mean, dude, I was like 200 meters from the top. Like I'm not stopping here. And so, I said like, you go ahead. Cause he was feeling great. I was like, you go ahead. I've got, like when you're actually doing a hiking, like the summit day, the Sherpas don't go up with you. Only one guy goes up with you. Or 2 guys, one from you, one from my buddy. Yeah. And they go up with you, but the whole team doesn't, like, you can't go up that high. It's like you're at like 19,000 feet above sea level. It's like people are going up with oxygen and shit. Yeah. And so I got to the top, and then as I got to the top, the Sherpa or whatever was like, you need to come down, like go down quick. So we went down to base camp, and I want to say like from the summit to base camp down was maybe like an hour and a half or 2 hours down. And then when I got down to base camp, I started having like crazy bad headaches. So I was like throwing up plus bad headaches. And that's like a really like telltale sign of altitude sickness. Yeah. And the only way to cure altitude sickness is get off the mountain. So literally we started jogging down. Like I'm a runner. So we got from summit camp. Yeah. That whole like journey down is like actually like we came up the hard side, but you can go down an easy side. Yeah. So there's like an easy side that's flat-ish. Yeah. And so I started jogging down the mountain. And so we ran all the way back. I want to say it was like probably like a 15K run. I ran the whole way back off the mountain. And then my doctor buddy had thought that I had some like big problem, and then he ran off the mountain too. So we went up and then we ran down.
That's really crazy. Yeah, there's always, I mean, most of these climbs, there's always, I guess they call it the tourist side and the actual hardcore side of the climb, right? So there's one that's a lot easier. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. There's a few things I want to get into. Let's get back to business now. Hospitality business. How'd you get into it?
So when you ask about my business life, it becomes much less interesting and dramatic.
We're gonna get it. I want to get into your personal life. There's one thing that works, but let's I have it here. Let's talk quickly about your hospitality business. When did you get into it? Are you still into that business now? Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So,
Here,
what are you currently doing?
Let's go look, you guys. I'll show you. What am I currently doing? I'll show you exactly what we're doing. You can see all of our brands in our company. So this is our I don't know if you can see all these, but these are all the different brands. So we have a. How do we go? Yeah, we have Big Boy Burger.
Okay.
We've got Hard Rock Cafe, which I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, I can see all that. Yeah.
We've got Novotel.
Yeah.
Swiss Hotel. These are all the brands that probably most everyone knows worldwide. And then all these other brands around it are brands that we have that we've created. So like Slumber Party is the hostel company that I started like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Socialtel is a new kind of like W. It's like if you mix the W and Slumber Party together and made like a place that you and I would want to go hang out. Like,
yeah.
You go hang out with families, but still like have a bit of atmosphere and a bit of a party vibe, but not like out of control.
Yeah.
And then we've got, all these different food brands, Scoozy, Power Bowls, Drunken Leprechauns, and Irish Bar. So yeah, we've got all these.
Would you call that one Drunken Leprechauns?
Yeah, the Drunken Leprechaun. Yeah, it's the Irish Bar.
So a lot of these all currently in Asia, or do you actually have any in North America? Like obviously some of those brands are worldwide. Yeah.
So to explain to you the world of hospitality a bit, like Hooters, the way Hooters works is we own the master franchise for all of Asia. So how does that work? It's like becoming Hooters partner. The Hooters America brand, like I guess to put it at all, like for example, like the CEO of Hooters would be somebody that we speak with like on pretty much a.
You're essentially partners with them, so
bi-weekly basis.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Like we're their franchise partners for Asia. So any Hooters in Asia is us, and then Hard Rock. Hard Rock works a little bit differently. They don't do master franchises. They only do franchises per location. So every time you want to open a Hard Rock, you go and apply for it, and Hard Rock decides yes or no. So we have 2 Hard Rock cafes in Thailand. We're trying to do more. And then Big Boy Burger, we own, again, the master franchise for all of Asia. So any Big Boy in Asia, that's us.
That's a pretty big brand too. So a quick question.
Slumber Party was the one that I started. Slumber Party I started in 2012 as a hostel. Just when I came to Thailand, I was like, if you want crazy entrepreneurial stories, I started Slumber Party with I think $15,000 in 2012. We now have 12 locations in 2 countries that are actually open, and then we have a third country that we were about to open right before coronavirus, but the property's already there. So we'll say 12 properties in 3 countries. And then, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I merged it into this business where then I became the CEO of the whole food and new product side of the business of the hostels. And then my partner runs the old, like the Swiss Hotel and the Sheratons and stuff like that. He runs that side. And it's like, that whole thing came from a $15,000 investment that now is like, the business overall.
Give me a rundown on that company. So when I think hostel, I think of a scummy place you just sleep in for the day, because I was looking at your photos, they look very high end. So it's a different mindset, or is it very, give me like a mindset, like, is it more of a hotel base, motel? Is it more higher end, lower end? Like, give me in a short little elevator speech, what would you call that company?
Yeah, I think the hostel industry as a whole has changed a lot in the last 8 years. Hostels, when I started in 2012, Slumber Party, we were like trying to be the nicest hostel. That was our goal. I think the first year I was like, I'm going to win. There's this thing called Hostel World, and I was like, I'm going to be the best hostel in the world. That's my goal.
Yeah.
And I opened up this really nice hostel. And now, if I look at what I opened 8 years ago versus like what's the product that's on the market now, even what we're opening, my first hostel would not even hold a fucking candle to it, because the quality level of hostels over the 8 years is like gone through the roof. Most hostels now I would put on par with like good hostels or brand hostels like Slumber Party. They're like 4-star hotels, dude. They're super nice.
That's what I'm saying. They are, huh? That's interesting. Yeah. So I would not even mindset on that.
The big brands, brands, and some of the one-offs too have some really nice hostels out there. But yeah, if you look at the big chain hostels, man, they're good, dude.
And do you guys focus on your Airbnbs and your Booking.coms for filling them out, or you guys have your own outlets to fill out your places?
So our probably primary source of traffic we call them OTA, online travel agency, is one called Hostel World.
Yeah.
Booking.com, we get a bit. Agoda, we get a bit. Airbnb, not so much. And then we've spent a lot of time, money, and energy in driving direct sales.
Direct sales to your website,
We do a pretty good amount of direct sales to our website as well.
That's pretty amazing. Now, explain the size of one of these. Like when I think of hostel, I think a oversized house, because I'm talking my experience when I was 19 years old traveling. I'm from Toronto, traveling to LA to Venice Beach and staying at a hostel for 2-3 days and going and like traveling and stuff like that when I was younger. How big are these? How many rooms are these? Is it a shared environment, or is it all like independent apartments now? Like where's your mind? How does it all run?
Yeah. So, I mean, they're not small. I mean, some of our older ones are smaller, but smaller, I would say 90 to 100 beds is what I would consider small.
So they are hotel sizes.
Yeah. And then the one we just opened in Bali this year is 200 beds, 250.
Yeah.
With private, or actually, that's not true. I think it's actually 150 or 180, but then it's also got like 15 or 20 private rooms. So if we fully built it out hostel wise, you could go 250 or 300. And I mean, that place is like, you look at it online. I mean, it's a good 4-star or a very nice boutique hotel. It's super cool. And then like the other thing I just showed you over there is Socialtel, which is like our new product, which is even higher end, is like trying to merge and like bridge that gap between hostel and hotel. So we're literally taking 4-star hotel, adding 200 hostel beds, but there's also 80 rooms. So it's going to be a 150 room property, the first one we're opening. So I mean, now we're like it's exciting because again, it's like what I was kind of getting at before is like this all started with a $15,000 investment. Now I'm running a $45 million a year company with turnover wise. And now I'm building a 150 room fucking hotel. Like, had you told me that 8 years ago that I was going to be building a 150 room hotel, I would have looked at you like you had 5 heads. Like even had you told me that 2 years ago, I probably would have been like, yeah, right. And
it's amazing the journeys of an entrepreneur, right? I love that. I love that. I mean, obviously I'm at a different scales, but I mean, we have a portfolio. I told you, of properties that play a beautiful place called Blue Mountain, which is a ski village, was the 4 season. And if you see my social media, I'm in the process right now of building. There's a place called Muskoka here in Toronto, Canada, and up north in Ontario here. It's like a high end cottage scene. So they're all like $4 or $5 million cottages off the water, and we picked up 16 acres, and we're building a cabin resort right now. So I'm building a cabin resort right there. So we're starting off with 5 cabins, the bathrooms, everything like that. So it's like glamping in a way. So it's cabin, but it's more higher end. And the reason I'm building it is I want to run. I don't even want to rent it on Airbnb. I want to do retreats out of it. So I'm going to use that for my business coaching, but also fitness retreats for trainers and stuff like that. So we're going to run retreats out of it. But at the same time, it's like you start with this little idea, and just if you put that hard work into it and the effort and the mindset, it's amazing what you can accomplish. I mean, you're saying that, like, I'm sitting listening to your story, and it's also your excitement. So I'm watching your smile from ear to ear as you're talking about what you're building. It's infectious. I love that. So that's congrats on that, brother. Congrats on all that.
But it is, I mean, it's like what I just want to add this for anyone who's listening is like what seems crazy and abnormal becomes very normal once you get drugged along, or I hate to say the word level up because I feel like it's so cliche, but like when you're making $1,000 a month, $1,000 a month seems like a crazy amount of money. Like, and if you said to me, like when we did our first big deal with Slumber, we raised about $1 million, and that seemed to me like a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
Just the other day, we closed a $90 million fundraise for our company. And that, to me, when we started, it sounded like a crazy amount of money. And now I think about it, and I'm like, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is, like, had you told me any of that 2 years ago or 5 years ago, I would thought you were out of your mind. But it's crazy how quickly it's like you've had a quick rise. Stocks.
Yeah, 100%. You've had a crazy rise, and like you said,
I don't know if it's that quick though. It's like investing in stocks. It's like it just compounds over time. It's like
but you when you're looking at a year and a half, 2 years, that's a pretty rapid growth. I mean, my property portfolio and everything it's been this 7, 8 year journey. And obviously you're at a different level than me, but you're accomplishing a lot, which is amazing. And you obviously have a bright future. You're 39. So the world, as entrepreneurs, I've always had.
Well, I'm also in the worst sector you could possibly be in right now. So don't get that.
I want to talk about that. I want to dive into that in 2 seconds. I know our time's short because you have family time ahead of you, but I'm going to wrap it up.
I think hold on. Let me just see what the wife said, because she wrote me a message saying she was going to be late. So I think we can. Let's just see. Give me a second. Sorry, anyone who's watching live. One second. I think we got 30 more minutes, it looks like.
Okay, perfect.
She said she's stuck in traffic, so I'll keep an eye on it.
That's perfect. So with...
If this is still interesting, kick me off in 10 minutes if I suck.
I'm loving everything about this.
Go show me.
With everything you're doing right now, like you said, the growth is there. One thing I realized, and this is pure kind of a different direction here, but I always had that mindset 3 years, 4 years ago that I was like, you know what, 45, I'm going to have an early, easy retirement. I'm going to live off my rental properties. I'm going to just sit back and relax. The pandemic hit, and for some reason, I was home for 2 weeks. I'm like, I can't do this shit anymore. Like, I was going crazy. It's like, I have to build. And all of a sudden I started taking business coaching courses. I started the podcast. I got a 2-book publishing deal or my first book will be released in January. Like, everything just started ramping, and I actually took it to another level. And yourself as an entrepreneur, I'm looking at you and I'm like, just the way you're talking and everything you want to accomplish, like there's no slowing process right now. It's just you're full gun blazing right now. Am I right? Yeah,
100%. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I've got a grandfather who's 99 years old.
Oh, amazing.
Who's an entrepreneur.
I'm gonna tell you a story.
He still works.
Yeah.
And he still works every single day, Monday through Friday. He goes in at 9 a.m. He leaves I think now he leaves a bit earlier, maybe like 3 p.m. And I grew up watching that. And I grew up watching the way he lived. And I grew up being told, if you want it, you go and work for it. It doesn't matter what I've accomplished because you're not getting any of it. You better go figure out how to get it on your own because it's not coming to you. And so from the outside looking in, people go, oh, like you know, in Jacksonville, people know our family name.
Yeah.
But honestly, literally not a penny given to me from that. I've gone out and done everything on my own. Yeah. Oh no, that'd be a lie. He gave me $10,000 of the $15,000 that I put, and he didn't give it to me. He gave it to me on a loan term. Yeah. The first $10,000 of the $15,000 I invested in Slumber. And so I grew up around that with that mentality of like, you work for what you want. And then a couple of years ago, he and I had like this really awesome conversation, maybe like 2-3 years ago, about death and about like, you know, are you afraid? Like, what do you feel? Like you're getting older? Do you feel like you're slowing down? Do you feel like you're dying? Like, what's it like? And we just had like this long conversation about like life from start to finish. And he said to me, and it was like, it just like, I was just like, yeah. He was like, if I stopped working today, I would die tomorrow. And he goes, it's just what I was built to do. And he's like, and it's just what makes me happy. And he's like, you know, I'm 97 at that time, and they were building like a whole new, like, our family business is lumber, and they're building a new pellet plant to start selling like the waste from the lumber to turn it into pellets so they could sell it to, you know, in Europe, because a lot of the houses in Europe use these pellet burners to create heat.
Yeah.
And it was a business he knows nothing about. I mean, as far as like, he'd never done it before, and he's 97 years old, and he read up everything on it, and he's like invested millions of dollars like into this pellet plant. He's like, I want to build a pellet plant. I'm going to do it. And I think just that's a great example to grow up around. And man, I'm so thankful for my grandfather. I'm going to be a very sad guy when he's not. I mean, even now I get upset about it, thinking about it, because I know he's old. And I mean, he's just been the biggest inspiration of my life, watching that guy. So I don't see myself slowing down. I can't imagine. I feel like it'd be disrespectful to him.
I'm gonna jump in there, and I got like tears in my eyes right now, because your story is very close to mine. In my whole family history, there's no other entrepreneurs but my grandfather. I'm from Toronto, Canada. He was in Portugal, a developer. I'd call him on a weekly basis. We just have conversations about business, about life. He was my inspiration to be an entrepreneur. And he was so proud of me and everything I did. And I started my first company at 17. I ended up selling that and started another one at 19. And he was the only one I ever talked to about business. And he's not with us any longer, but a great entrepreneur, had a museum named after him, had schools named after him in Portugal. So he accomplished so much. Same thing. I never got a penny off him, and I didn't want a penny. I didn't want anything. Even ugly example, even with Comorware, we do average 1.5, 2 million in sales a year. We actually develop all our products. We manufacture all our products. And this company, I started with a pair of shorts. We started with the first run. I started in my basement with the first run of 100 pairs of shorts, sold those, took that profit and reinvested. I've never taken a loan. I've never done anything like that. So all my companies I've ever built has been on the same process, but he was my inspiration. I was just talking to him, learning from him, listening to his stories and all that. So I love that aspect. It's very close to my story as well. So I love that part of you. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I had a smile when you were saying that. I had a big. I don't know if you saw that. I had a big smile from ear to ear listening to your story. So I love that aspect of it. And he's 99, which is amazing. He's in good shape too, man. He's doing all right. Yeah, that was my grandfather.
If he lived another, it's like one of those things like where if my mom called me tomorrow and said he passed away, it kind of wouldn't surprise me because I feel like he's just like he's going so hard that he might just go boop one day. Yeah. Or if he lived another 10 or 15 years, it also wouldn't surprise you. Yeah. So it's like I'm thankful for every day that he's here.
Yeah, that's amazing. So your family, besides your wife and your daughter, live in Thailand. All your family still in Jacksonville, Florida?
No, a little bit spread out. All the siblings are all over. My brother's in Germany. I'm in Thailand. My sister's in California.
Oh, so you are spread out.
Yeah, but my mom's side of the family, like my mom, my dad, aunt, uncle, and grandfather, my grandmother's passed away, are all in Jacksonville, Florida. So I'd say like the bulk of the family is in Jacksonville, Florida.
So we're going back to that. So you're the only other you're besides your grandfather, the only other entrepreneur in your family, huh? Yep. So what, do you mind me asking, did your dad work, did your grandfather's on your dad's side or your mom's side?
My mom's side.
Mom's side. Did your mom ever work for her dad?
No.
Did you ever have inspiration or did you ever work for your grandfather?
I did. Okay. I worked planting, so it's a lumber business. So I worked planting sapling pine trees for a summer. It's horrible. Maybe a couple summers.
How long is that? How long is that? I mean, was he a first generation entrepreneur, or was that a family business that he took over? I just find it interesting, so I apologize.
No. I don't believe if I remember correctly, I don't believe that his father was an entrepreneur, but there was like entrepreneurship, and also too around that time, it's like wasn't everyone an entrepreneur in like the early 1900s? It was like survive. Yeah. But I don't know if his father was or not. I don't think he was. My grandfather he was in the war in World War II. Yeah. And then when he got out of the war, I can't remember how the land came along, but he started a car insurance company and was doing car insurance, and then sold that, similar to us, and started I want to say it was like a cattle business. And then he thought like he was going to make money, or his brothers or cousins were going to make money doing turpentine in Mexico. They went to Mexico and realized they bought all this land, and they realized that like you couldn't grow pine trees on the mountains. Yeah. So then they went back to Georgia, because that's where the actually family business is, in Georgia, bought all this land, started doing turpentine, and turpentine became not like a hot product anymore. And so they started, instead of doing turpentine, selling lumber. So yeah, that's just, he kind of similar. It's like gambling in Vegas, right? It's like you get your chips, and it's like, do you want to play the next game? Do you want to see if you can ante up? Do you want to go to the high roller table? Okay, you might lose it all, but you can keep playing if you want. I feel like that's what entrepreneurship's like.
Oh, 100%. 100%. There's a few things I want to dive into. We keep talking about, but I just want to dive back into COVID, hospitality business, the food industry, how has it affected you?
So we typically run a company of about 1,500 people. I think right now we probably have, I don't know the exact number, but I would say we have 275 now, maybe.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow.
So, we're talking 75, 80% of the workforce has been either laid off or put on leave or leave without pay or on vacation. So dramatically. All the hostel business at the moment right now is closed more or less. I think there's one that's open sort of in Indonesia doing long-term stays. All the hotels are closed. There's one open out of the 7 that we have one that's open in a tourist kind of destination market for local tourism.
Yeah.
Restaurants, I would say as far as like actual physical locations, all of the Hard Rocks are closed. 2 of our Hooters are open. Everything else is closed. And the main thing we're doing right now is, so we've shifted to 2 things. So yeah, all that is terrible and it sucks and it's not great.
Yeah.
But we believe in the future.
100%.
And what we've done to reposition ourselves is, one, we've been really focusing heavily on online delivery. So we've set up a number of ghost kitchens. We're building another ghost kitchen right now. So if you don't know what a ghost kitchen is, it's like just a kitchen that makes food of different brands. So we'll have 20 brands of different restaurants that, like, you as the end user would be like, oh, I'm ordering from all these different restaurants, but it's all coming out of one kitchen.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Is that there is a thing. Okay, interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Ghost kitchen or cloud kitchen. Yeah, it's a thing.
Okay.
So we're setting these up. And then the other thing we've done is, like I said, we just did this big fundraise. So we believe that there's a lot of distressed real estate in Thailand and not only Thailand, but Asia right now.
The world right now. There's opportunity, right? Tons of opportunity. Yeah. So my business partner has a very good track record over the last 30 years of being in Thailand, of buying distressed assets and repositioning them and selling them. Yeah.
So he started a new company with a new branch under our company to raise capital to buy distressed assets. Like I said, we just raised $90 million with that, and we're going out buying hotels now. So I think we've just shifted our focus. One thing, though, I think that would be good to say, because I say these numbers, and I was thinking about this earlier too, because people are like, wow, like these numbers are crazy, and they are. But because Slumber raised 2 years ago 50 mil. Now with Destination Group we just raised 90 mil. So you're talking about $140 million, which is not like chump change.
No.
This doesn't mean you're rich.
Oh, I 100%. 100%.
This means you've taken on a lot of fucking debt. It means that you stand to lose everything. Because people see this, and again, I say this because I think it's good to be transparent, because people see this stuff on people's Instagram and they're like, oh my God, am I a wealthy guy? Yeah, I'd be lying if I said no. Do I live a really good life? Yes, 100%. Can I do what I want whenever I want? More or less. But of that $90 million, $0 went into my pocket. All that means is that I'm actually leveraged my ass off, and I have to make it work, because if I don't, I'll be coming to work for Kimura.
I love it. No, it's honest. It's just the risk taking, right? And that's the difference of how many people have the balls to do it, right? And taking that risk and basking in the reward of it, which is the whole entrepreneurial dream, right? I'm gonna throw off something else that's totally off. You said you try to eat vegan and you live on a farm currently, so you grow up a lot of your own stuff. Am I right or wrong with saying that?
Mostly right. So at the moment, I'm actually in Bangkok. This is our office in Bangkok. Okay. And so generally speaking, I spend until like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I was 100% in another province called Krabi, which is where my farm is.
Yeah.
And yes, we were living on the farm. We were probably growing, probably 70% of what we eat. Only really getting a little. Yeah, I mean, even I was at the end, I was starting to grow soybeans. I started growing soybeans now because I want to make my own soy milk. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, almost everything we eat is off the farm. I mean, really, if we didn't want to buy groceries, we could probably get away with not buying groceries at all. Yeah. And then now that I'm in Bangkok, obviously, here we eat out pretty much every day. but like I've been here for 2.5 weeks now, and I'm leaving to go back down to our other house on Friday.
Yeah.
And so I'll be down there again for another 2 weeks. I'll be back on the farm, living the farm life. Dude, I love the farm life.
It's a different world, isn't it? It's just the wake up, the fresh air, just a different environment.
I realized being up here that I really, as much as I love doing business, I would rather do business on the computer on my farm.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like I need to be in the office every day. I'm okay doing the same stuff down there. So I want to do more of that.
Bangkok's a crazy city, huh? It's very, very busy, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty tame at the moment because
it is, huh?
Coronavirus. Yeah. I mean, it's like the
how's the mindset everybody there? Is it very
tourism's gone.
Yeah, but how's the mindset everybody? Is it more laid back? Is it more fear based? Like how's everybody's mindset? Because in Canada there's such mixed emotions. Because if you look at our numbers are so low to everybody else, but they seem to keep trying to close everything. They keep trying to shut everything down and reopen and shut everything down. Is that and as an entrepreneur and you're looking at them, like the government's like every time there's an issue, all you hear is the government saying, okay, here's $1.5 billion towards this. So here's money towards this. The teachers don't want to work. Oh, here's money towards that. Just throwing money away. And I'm looking at anybody that has a pension, God help, they're not going to have a pension after all this fucking money. They're just throwing money away like nothing right now. Yeah. So how's the mindset there? Is it very, very tame? Very like the numbers in Thailand, the numbers weren't too crazy, were they?
Thailand was the second lowest, I believe, in the world as far as like a developed country.
Yeah.
So here's what I would say. Whether you believe it's real or not, up to you. What I will say is this: wearing masks, clear. And I even made a joke about, I made a joke like I think like back in February or something. Like I had a picture of me on an airplane. I wasn't wearing a mask, and everyone was wearing a mask. And I was like, no, thank God everyone's wearing a mask, so I don't have to. Like, I thank God everyone else is wearing a mask, so I don't have to. And looking back on it now, I realize how, I mean, I don't think it's people's fault. Here's the thing. So let me dig into this a little bit. We live in a society where anything happens and the news goes fucking nuts trying to make it, because they're trying to drive ad sales. Like people don't realize the news agencies are driven by ad sales. Yes. So anything happens, they're trying to drive as much fucking out of it. They'll squeeze they'll take a penny and turn it into a mile of copper wire, just trying to like fucking drag it out as long as they can. So and then the government, everyone looks back and goes, well, why isn't anyone listening? Why doesn't anyone believe us? It's like, well, it's the boy who cried wolf. When you're crying wolf every fucking day, no one believes you. Yeah. So I think that's one thing as to why no one really took it that seriously in the beginning. And then the flip side is of why is it worked so well in Thailand is Thailand has like, you know, if the government says do it, like you fucking shut up and you do it, because, you know, everyone here doesn't have rights and feelings and power. It's like you either do it or you go to jail, or you either do it or you're gonna have a big problem. And you know, there's a side to that where like, especially Americans are like, well, we're free. We should be able to do what we want. You know, fight the power. Vaccines are bad. Yeah. And it's like, all right, well, fair enough. But like, let's look at the result of little Thailand, who's everyone's always like, you know, Thailand or China, like, oh, their governments are, you know, I mean, Thailand's actually a democracy. Though there's been a bit of a military takeover, who now is the president, but whatever, it is a democracy. But people kind of like talk trash on all these Asian countries, but if you look at the Asian countries, like they've handled it the best. And why? Like, because everyone listened. When the government said, put on your mask and don't go outside, and we're shutting everything down, that's what happened. You would drive down the streets and there was literally military vehicles driving up and down the streets, arresting people if they were out on the streets. Yeah. And so we went through like literally 3 months of shit like that, where like literally, I'm not joking, the country was shut down. I couldn't go outside of my house. Yeah. Literally, I could not go outside of my house for almost a month. You were not allowed outside of your house other than to go to the grocery store. And it was only between certain hours of the day. And from 9 p.m. after, the entire towns were closed. Yeah. So, you know, like, so all of this I'm saying is like, so what is the mentality like? It's fucking great now, because, you know, like last weekend I went out to the bars and all the bars are open. People are having a good time. People aren't wearing masks because no one has coronavirus here. Because we listened. Had everyone on the planet just listened, we wouldn't be in the shit show. We're a victim of our own stupidity right now. If everyone just listened, and America and Canada and everyone else, whoever still has it, if they just listened and shut down everything for 3 months, it would go back to normal. And I know it's not what anyone wants to hear. And probably people on here like Edmund's an idiot, but I saw it firsthand here and it worked.
You're 100% right. It's not being an idiot. It's being honest. It's common stuff. Just keep your distance, wear your mask, wash your fucking hands, and you'll be fine. Like, we did shut down here quite a bit. And there is a second,
and that's why your numbers are low.
Our numbers are low, but it's one of those situations where the numbers are rising now, but the death rate is so lower. I mean, it's so low, but the numbers are rising slightly. Where we're getting right through Canada.
You're too close to America. People are probably like sneezing on you at the border.
They're not allowed in here yet. They're not allowed in here yet. But it's the younger generation. So all the numbers right now are all like, between
Canada.
all the numbers now are between 20 and 40 or 20 and 30-year-olds because they're back to college, they're having their parties. That's what the only spread right now you're seeing that within the younger generation, because they're not taking it as serious, which sucks because they're the ones who are going to pass it on to the older generation. They're going to obviously see the effect of it, right? So, but the numbers are still, like I said, in Canada in general, they're still quite low compared to America, where it's like fucking a shit show again, right? I mean, you go even Florida, LA. Think of LA. The numbers in LA, it's insane. It's insane. The numbers in LA right now. The group.
I don't watch it. I have no idea what's happening. The only thing I know is that Trump was in the hospital for like 20 minutes and apparently he's cured now. That's the only thing I know.
Yeah, that was I mean, my mindset is that was a voting strategy, right? Just to
I don't know. I tried to ignore it all.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I've learned to not be stressed in life is don't watch the news, especially as it pertains to America.
Yeah. Where's your business coaching? When did you start that, and how much time do you actually dedicate to that?
Yeah, so I first started coaching back in 2013-14 with Startup Bros.
Yeah.
So Startup Bros, we had a really successful program called the Import Empire. Probably one, I don't know if it was the biggest, because I think at one point Amazing was probably bigger than us.
Yeah.
But probably the second biggest training program for people learning to train on Amazon. And the longest running. So Startup Bros to this day is still going, still training people, has a great success rate. It's run by my buddy, Will Mitchell, who's an incredibly, probably the smartest dude I know. One of the few young guys I look at, I think Will's 27 or 28, he's just a weapon. He's so smart. So I started back then. And then I wasn't doing it as much the last couple of years. I would do stuff here and there, but it wasn't like that active with coaching. And then, coronavirus hit and I was looking at things I liked to do and other things I could do. And so I started really back in November. I'd already taken on a few clients, like, I guess sort of when coronavirus was happening, but just as coincidence, I'd taken on a few clients. And then in February, I took on another couple clients. And then in April, when we decided we were really shutting everything down, I was just like, well, I'm just going to focus on growing my personal brand again and doing some coaching and see how it goes. And I mean, I'm lucky. I've got as many clients as I can take at the moment, and dedicate. I dedicate probably 15 hours, 20 hours a week to coaching right now, and that's like actual coaching with clients.
Oh, okay, perfect, yeah.
And then outside of that, I probably do like maybe like another 2 or 3 hours a week of like either writing a blog, doing an interview like this, or
the branding aspect is a huge part of it as well, right? And the branding aspect it's not easy. It's a lot of work, a lot of competition out there, but it's a lot of work behind branding yourself. I'm going through it right now. I've never did that before. I've literally started branding myself maybe 6 months ago. The first time I ever have done this, branding myself. So it's that building blocks, and I'm doing my own. I'm guesting on other people's podcasts and doing stuff like that as well, where it's like all of a sudden it's like it's time, it's effort, but it has to, if you want to help and give back, you have to have a brand behind you. As much as it doesn't matter your accomplishments, right? It's that brand behind the accomplishments. And I'm noticing, like, I have which is pretty amazing, is I've had guests on that have these huge brands and they have these huge social medias and they have these huge followings. And after our interview, I'm talking to them, and a couple of them I'm actually coaching right now myself. So they were asking me for advice, and I'm looking at these guys with these massive followings, which is pretty amazing, right? But yeah, I love everything you're doing, buddy. I mean, you got the family thing going, which is amazing. I love the farm life. I love all the brands. You're obviously you're building something special. You're in an industry where it's not an easy industry to get into. It's a very lucrative industry when you get to, like you said, to the certain level you're out. And I congratulate you on all of your accomplishments and just the bare fact that you balance it out with your fitness and your goals, and you set these crazy accomplishments where they're ultra marathons or the hill mountain climbing and all that, where you have so many little balances and accomplishments, which is these goals just keep you flowing, keep you going too, right? It's just amazing how you set a goal and it just keeps you flowing, right?
I think you maybe misunderstand me. It's not. It's actually the exact opposite of balance. It's total imbalance, is what it is. It's like I'm an extremist. Everything I do, it's like I'm going to do it all the way. And so it's. But
I think very successful people are like that. That's just the way very successful people are, right? It's just it's almost like that ADD is like fucking. I got to do this. I'm going to do this to the max. I'm going to do this, and it's what makes you. It's your fabric, right? And it makes you who you are, which is pretty amazing, right? So congrats on all that, brother.
That's why I said the thing about the Ironman when you said earlier. I was like, I'm going to try to just go out and enjoy it, because I'm trying to be like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not. But then the other day I watched like the Iron Cowboy guy do like 50 Ironmans in 50 days. I was like, I feel like I could do that. Like, it doesn't seem that crazy. Like, I can do that. And it's like, like it's just.
I'm going to ask you one thing, because this one of my industries I'm in is you're in Thailand. Their national sport is Muay Thai. Have you gone out and watched any fights and stuff? Are you part of that at all? Do you train?
I haven't much the last few years, but yeah, man, I used to train Muay Thai.
Oh, you did, huh?
Yeah, tons. Yeah, I used to train a lot of Muay Thai, and actually, like cool. one of my big mentors, a guy named Greg Silva, who you may or may not know. He ran United Professionals, which is a big martial arts consulting company in the States. Like one of my best friends, much older guy who's just lucky to meet back in 2006, right after the band days, and has just always been a really good guiding light in my life. He's taught me about martial arts and discipline and responsibility and like bringing up young people and giving them a good example and being a great role model, which I think is like one of the things that people don't realize like martial arts is so good for, is like teaching discipline, teaching self-respect, teaching people how to be a role model, how to be a leader. And so, anyways, so because of Greg, I got into Muay Thai when I first came to Thailand. I used to do a ton. My wife is a badass. My wife is terrifying. She's very good Muay Thai. Very, very good. And the last couple of years I haven't done as much because I've just been training more like ultras and running and like triathlons. But just recently we were talking, like my wife has gotten back into it again just recently. I would like to. I just haven't.
Yeah, it's such a. I mean, it's a part of life in Thailand, right? It's just, I mean, we get.
It's like football here.
Yeah, it's everything there. Like we have, we have just on Ontario. We are here. We probably have about 60, 70 strictly Muay Thai gyms, and they're all under the Muay Thai Ontario government and Muay Thai Canada and all that stuff. And we get a lot of our athletes going to Thailand, and they do their training camps and stuff like that there. So we're a big part of it. And I actually sponsor Team Canada that did the World Championships in Thailand recently, a couple of years back, and all that stuff. So it's a part of what we do is here as well. So and I appreciate that. That's why I wanted to ask you. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. You've done that. So how many years did you actually train? Did you ever fight or just train?
No, I never fought. I actually trained to fight and then just got sick. Actually, is what happened. I was training to fight and got sick/injured my same shoulder. I ended up dislocating. Yeah. So I just never fought. I did want to fight. And my wife, they really wanted her to fight because she's really good, but she just didn't want to fight. So having never done it, I probably won't ever do a fight now at this point. But maybe, you never know. Who knows? But training, I did it pretty decently for about 2 years when I first came to Thailand. Yeah. And then I would say like I've done it on and off, probably like, I don't know, probably like 3 months or 6 months at a time in between there. So like, except for the
great workout, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy. If you think you're in shape, then go do Muay Thai for 30 minutes and come back. Don't even 30 minutes. Go do 2 rounds.
It's insane. It's insane. And then if you actually add the sparring aspect to it, and that adrenaline rush of getting somebody swinging at you, hitting you, and your adrenaline, that tightness is just your heart is going a million miles an hour, right?
Yeah, you're just gassed. Like you get gassed so quick. Like in the Muay Thai is no joke.
Do you have?
I think I'm too old. You have to be hard. You have to be super hard. I don't know if I'm hard enough. I'm too soft now.
Do you have any last minute advice or anything that you want to say? I mean, we're gone. We're a little over an hour and 20 minutes already, which is amazing. I appreciate your time. Do you have any last minute thing you want to say to young entrepreneurs? Don't do what I do.
Besides that, because I said this to someone else today, and I thought it was a good explanation. It was like starting a business is like going to the gym when you're overweight, and it's like the reason people quit going to the gym is because it's uncomfortable. It's a lot of work, and you can't see the results right away. And entrepreneurship is exactly the same thing. It's uncomfortable. It's putting yourself out there. It's a lot of work, and you don't see the results right away. And so you have to remember that just like going to the gym, if you keep going and you work out every day, you'll eventually lose weight and you'll get into shape. And the same thing with business is like, if you keep going to the gym every day, or the example I used earlier, like taking at-bats with baseball, if you keep getting up to the plate and swinging and swinging and swinging, eventually you'll start hitting balls. So don't get discouraged. Don't follow Instagram. Don't follow these gurus that are driving Lamborghinis and like whatever. Like, it's okay to do those things, but I can tell you most people who drive Lamborghinis aren't posting it on Instagram. Most people who are driving Lamborghinis are trying to figure out ways to write it off as a tax loss and not showing to the government that they have them. And the people that are posting on Instagram aren't the people that really have it. And for that matter, I'll give you another quick parting thing. A very, very, you can go look it up, so I don't have to say this person's name, but a very, very, very big internet guru guy is being sued right now in Canada and Vancouver. It was just in the Vancouver Sun the other day, and he's being sued by my business partner. And the reason he's being sued is because he rented my business partner's $35 million house and then posted videos all over YouTube about how this was his $35 million house, and then couldn't pay rent. I kid you not, this guy couldn't pay rent. He was in the house for about 2 months, and he couldn't pay the rent. This is what those guys who are showing you this shit.
Yeah.
Please go Google. Anyone's listening, please go Google and figure out who this is, because it'll take you about 3 seconds to figure out who it is.
Yeah.
But one of the big ones who's on the line all day, look at how rich I am, is in court right now because he couldn't pay his rent. It's a scam. Believe the people like, I don't know Jeff, but he sounds like a legit guy.
You see my social media, buddy. I drive a Jeep Wrangler, buddy. I drive a Jeep Wrangler, and I drive a Chevy Sonic. And it's all about building to me, it's my son, and I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to end this right now we'll end it with this. But my son, we talked before we went to air. He's battled through a lot. He's overcome so much, and he has a story to tell. And me doing what I'm doing right now with the business coaching, eventually be on stage and all that stuff, is going to be, to me, a platform, because I believe his story is going to be so inspiring to millions of people. And I want to be able to set a platform for him and have a platform that he could tell his story one day. And I mean, that's one of my purposes right now. So, I mean, it's not about, it's about quality of life, quality of life, and enjoy. I'm going to ask you one more question before you go, but quality of life, and just enjoy the moment, live in the moment. Don't fucking worry about, I'm actually going to do a post today, a little video about, and it's because I had this conversation with my daughter and a couple other entrepreneurs that have been asking me lately. And I always say the same thing is, the minute you find happiness is the minute you stop giving a shit what people think of you. Yeah,
for sure.
And
one thing, because so I wanted to finish on the statement.
Yeah. Sorry.
Something I'm really passionate.
Yeah, 100%.
About. The one thing I was going to say is, if you can't Google someone's name and figure out what they do online, and they're trying to teach you to be like a billionaire, then don't listen to them. It's like the whole Instagram game, what I've learned over the last, because I never really did it much until the last few months when I started trying to grow my brand a bit. And I just realized how scammy it is.
Yeah.
And what I realized, like Instagram is like Instagram marketers trying to sell Instagram marketing to Instagram marketers. It's like this crazy, like samsara thing of like people chasing their tail.
Yeah.
So like just Google people, do a little bit of research, make sure like the people you're giving your money to are legit, and like I just feel bad. I see people like selling Forex trading, like people writing me, I gave money to this guy and it's like the course is nonsense. It just makes you feel bad. Like it's like
I get a lot of that. I get a lot of that on Instagram. I get a lot of people DMing me about this Forex trade.
Scammy.
It's nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, I'm sorry to go off on a tangent about that, but I just
No.
something I'm pretty passionate about. I hate seeing people get ripped off.
I love that. I'm going to ask you one last question, then we're going to end it off there. If something were to happen to you today, knock on wood, in a few words, how would you want to be described or remembered by your loved ones or your closest? I always ask everybody that.
How would I want to be, or what do I think they would say?
Be honest. What do you think they would say? Or both. Like, I mean, you're trying to build a legacy. Like, how are you living your life? Honestly, having you living your life that your people around you that matter to you, how would they describe you?
Yeah, I think my like the people who know me would say crazy hard worker who like just like was extreme in everything he did and lived every minute of his life to the fullest and was like always looking for the next big challenge and like, you know, loved his wife and daughter. I think that's the people who know me would say, because it is who I am. I'm like, I don't ever slow down. I'm just like a million miles an hour.
Yeah.
How would I like to be remembered? I think one of the things that I do a lot of that I feel like it's a weird thing. Something I do a lot of and I'm proud of it, but I don't ever talk about it because I feel like it's weird to talk about it. And this is actually one of the few moments where I'm talking about it. Yeah. You'll probably, in no other interview have you ever seen me say it, because you're asking this question, am I saying it? I do a lot of charity work, like a lot. Like our company gives a lot of money to charity, and I don't like promoting it because I feel like it's weird to promote yourself based on charity work, because then it becomes like you didn't, it seems like disingenuous, or maybe you're not doing it for the right reasons. Yeah. And it's something, again, like my grandfather and my grandmother were really passionate about, or my grandfather is, my grandmother was really passionate about charity work. And it's something, again, that's gotten really instilled in me. And I, even though I don't want to promote it now because I feel like it cheapens it, I hope later that people realize how much I did and how much I gave back and how much money I've donated. Like, you know, just the other day, like on one of my interviews, I donated $1,000 to Devin Harris's charity in Jamaica, because I was listening to him talk about it on the interview, and I got excited about it, and I said $1,000 in like 2 seconds. Yeah. And I give a lot of money and a lot of time and use as much of my resources as I can. And I hope that, you know, someday that comes out, because it's something I'm really proud of.
That's awesome.
I'm proud of all the philanthropy that we do as a company. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah. It's special that you could get to a stage in your life that you could give back, and you're doing it out of the bottom of your heart. You're doing it out of your goodness. You're not doing it as a tax write-off, which is nice. I like, you can see his honesty with you, which I love as well. So amazing. I love this interview, buddy. I mean, like I said, we started off, it's been an hour and a half. I feel like I could talk forever with you, which is awesome. I love that. We have a lot of things in common, which is amazing. I'm going to put on all the show notes how to get a hold of Edmund. And if you looking for a coach, looking for a brand, looking for inspiration, through social media, through his website, I'm going to put all the links on our show notes and all that stuff like that. And once again, thank you for taking the time. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day with the family. And thanks, brother. I appreciate everything you're doing. Okay.
Thank you so much, dude.